Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem. My name is Joan Lippis, or hashtag Joni in Jerusalem, welcoming you to Lunchtime Prayer for Israel. Lunchtime Prayer is part of the Noveim Ministries family, and I especially welcome some new Israeli friends. I so welcome you. I'm so glad that your English is good enough to not only read the text in Hebrew, but also follow on this video. And I will try to speak slowly, but I get excited and I get passionate at times. But the reason why we're all watching today is because we're saying, hey, can you give us a clue? Give us a clue. Isn't this what everybody's asking? Doesn't matter where we live, or what our gender is, or what our age is, or how much money we have or don't have, or even what we think about politics, if we think about politics at all. Doesn't matter. In fact, the three places that I call home are all in trouble. Manhattan, my favorite street to walk up and down. I worked right there. Madison Avenue, gone. Months ago. What about Portland, Oregon? Portland, Oregon. It's not such a big city. And yet, for the last 60 days since the time this was done, it has been absolutely burning. Nobody either can or wants to do anything about it. And then there's Jerusalem. Remember, I'm Joni in Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Yesterday, 10,000 people were demonstrating outside our Prime Minister's home. Our Prime Minister, who has been beloved for years. We followed him wherever he went, whatever he said. He was so loved and so respected. Now, trying to get rid of him. That's it. We're finished. We want answers, and we want answers now. And you know what? Wanting answers outside of what the Bible says is going to get Israel and the world into a whole lot of trouble. Indeed. We do want to know what is happening. What has happened to turn the world upside down in just a matter of months? No wonder we're desperate for a clue. And that's what a few Jewish men asked thousands of years ago. So I read, a few of his disciples were sitting with Yeshua on Mount Olivet, just a few miles down. They were admiring the beauty of the buildings of the temple, and they expected their master to do the same. But instead, Yeshua warned them that soon the temple would be destroyed. This beautiful temple that Herod had spent 46 years in renovating it. But earlier, Yeshua had even wept over Jerusalem, knowing what was about to happen to his beloved city. I'm reading from Matthew 24, verse 2. And Yeshua said to them, do you not see all these things? Assuredly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down. And if you doubt that this was true, just go to Davidson Center at the base of Mount Olivet, and you will see all those stones that were thrown down. Stunned, the disciples were desperate to know more. They wanted the whole picture, and so they asked him three very distinct questions. Each gospel writer remembered and recorded it a bit differently. So we go back to Matthew, again, chapter 24, now verse 3. Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us when these things will be, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age. Coming? We'll get there. Mark asked a bit differently. He wasn't interested in the end of the age. Mark 13, verses 3 and 4. Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us when these things will be and what will be the sign when all these things will be fulfilled." Luke, like Mark, was only interested in the when and the sign. Luke 21, verse 7. So they asked him, saying, "Teacher, but when will these things be, and what sign will there be when these things are about to take place?" About to take place. That's what we're discussing today. And for those of you who are a little bit more familiar with the Bible, you've got to be giggling because the Jews are asking for a sign, as we see in 1 Corinthians 1:22. So let's pause and look at the most obvious signs today. Well, we're going to start with the biggest sign that the end is coming: Israel. Israel has been reborn as a nation, not simply a nation of people, because we've always been a nation of people from the time we left Egypt. We've never stopped being a nation of people, regardless of where we live. It's always the Jews. But now we are a real nation, or a state. Secondly, the restoration of the Hebrew language. Years ago, Hebrew was only for the Bible. And in fact, some considered it such a sacred language, they came up with a new language, Yiddish in Eastern Europe, a combination of Hebrew and German. But God said, "I'm going to restore the language." And in fact, the man who did bring it back to life, Eliezer ben Yehuda, believed the prophets, knew that we were going to be back in our own land. He said, then we've got to have a language. The joke is, he said, we've got to have a language that we can swear with and that we can go into the supermarket and buy what we need. So he took the biblical language, the language of the Bible, and he added some more words. Third, the return of the Jewish people. Now that we're back in our land, we came back. Here I am. And millions are returning, just as God said. And then, of course, the revitalization of this land. Years ago, it was swamps, it was marshland, it was malaria infected. But now we export fruit, vegetables, and flowers. Oh, what a beautiful land. What a beautiful land. Well, that's Israel. What about the rest of the world? What are some of the other signs that the end is coming? Lawlessness. Lawlessness. We just talked about what was going on in America. Complete and total anarchy, complete and total disrespect of all laws whatsoever. Complete lawlessness. Maybe in your family, maybe in your church, maybe in your city. It's certainly in your country. What about sexual immorality? What used to be considered evil is now considered good and just fine. In fact, paraded down our streets. And what was considered good and right and just is now evil. Everything is turned upside down. Our social and cultural ways of doing things for thousands of years based on the Bible. Now challenged. And lastly, what I'm calling deviant spirituality. Friends, there's only one God. He says it right there in Torah. He says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one." There's only one. Echad. And we'll talk about that word another time. The Lord is one. And yet, look around. Look around at the gods that other people are worshiping? How many gods are there in some countries? India? Thailand? Your country? We're worshiping the creation instead of the Creator. And we are worshiping the most evil, evil, evil so-called gods. There's only one. Why? Because he's so jealous and he has to demand worship? No, because he is holy. He is righteous. He is just. He is loving. He is kind. He is merciful. And he is good. There's only one. There's only one. Echad, the God of compound unity. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, Echad. And we'll discuss that at another time. And we'll go into the Hebrew. Why does God call himself Echad and not Yachid? I say that to our Israeli friends. And so, in closing, we do want to pray first for Israel, then for the nations, that we will all understand and see and recognize and understand the signs that God is showing us to warn us that terror is soon upon us. So I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for watching. I ask you to subscribe. And most of all, I ask you to contact me. Contact me with your questions or your comments. You can do it at the bottom of the YouTube video. You can do it on Facebook. Or what I love the most is write to me. Send me an email. And all that information is right here, just a few seconds away. And with that, I do say, Shalom, Lehitraot, from Jerusalem.